Welcome to A Lunch with Biggie, a podcast about small business and creatives sharing their stories and inspiring you. My guest today is all about Ball is Life, creating a brand not only showing love to the game of basketball, but renovates neglected public outdoor basketball courts, as well as is a creator, a printer, a baller, all behind the brand Swishh Dreams. Please welcome Hannah Hunter. What's going on, Hannah?
Yo, what's up, Biggie? Thanks for the intro.
Oh, I love it, man. So of course, first question we always got to ask, we're having lunch. What's your go-to lunch order or sandwich?
Okay, well, I'm from Pittsburgh, so I want to say Permane Brothers.
Okay.
With the fries on it.
Okay.
You know? Have you ever had it?
I have had it. Now,
Let's
do you since we are in Orlando, do you make your own version of this now when you when you make sandwiches or eat burgers or anything? Do you like shove fries onto everything?
I put fries on my salads.
Okay.
But mostly just dream about the sandwiches. I don't make the sandwiches. Just
okay.
In Pittsburgh.
I like how you say you put fries on I like that. Forget croutons, people. We're going fries on salad. I like it. Yeah. Anytime I can get some potato action, I'm all about it.
Yes.
So tell people a little bit about Swishh Dreams. Tell how did you get started? What made you decide to create a brand on this, and just tell people a little bit about the brand.
Okay, Swishh Dreams, it kind of started as like my graphic design portfolio.
Okay.
And just like put out basketball graphics and stuff like that, and always just like going to different courts and taking pictures. And it kind of developed into a brand when I learned how to print t-shirts, started selling tees, and then we put the profits towards renovating the courts, and that's kind of where we're at now.
Okay. So, and what I love about the brand, what I think I like about the brand is that, the aspect one. So the name Swishh Dreams, little things like I'm all about little details. So like Swishh Dreams is SWISHH. The reason it's HH, it's her initials, which makes sense, and it's also obviously the sound you would hear when you hit nothing but net. So I totally, I truly appreciate that. What made you go the route of saying, "Hey, I want to do a brand where all the profits from the brand go to renovating basketball courts"? Like, what is it about that? Like, what made you even think of that? Like, what's the significance of outdoor courts to you, or just kind of give me a little bit of a background on that? Let's peel the onion there for that.
Oh, great question. Well, I love basketball. I've been playing basketball my whole life, like organized, just in school. But I played in college too, but after that was over and I was done, it was hard to process, but to keep playing, outdoor basketball is always there, and it's there for everybody, even if you're not, Mr. Pro athlete or whatever, So I feel like investing in the courts is very important and could just be helpful to everybody, and it keeps basketball in my life.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. One of the things that that I kind of saw that I thought was interesting is like how you believe that like outdoor courts, the whole the idea of interacting with others, it strengthens like the community, strengthens like increases social intelligence, physical health. The fact that, you're right, anyone can go and play. And it's like, and that's the beauty of the court aspect of it. What made you decide to go become a nonprofit, like a 501c3 nonprofit, in order to do this? Like, did you spend a lot of time on like outdoor courts, and when you travel or anything like that, like, do you bring a ball and go hit the courts at different places?
Yes, definitely. That's like number one. I always want to find the courts wherever I'm going. And yeah, growing up, I love playing, at the courts too. That was the best. I still remember those times, and I think everybody does, and how like impactful it really was to you.
Yeah.
It kept you out of trouble. It I don't know. It gave you all your friends.
Yeah.
So.
No, I totally get that. So let's talk a little bit about the whole aspect of doing a court and working on all that stuff, like how does all that work, per se? Like, obviously you use your design background to kind of be able to design the court. Do you have certain things, like what kind of, like, is it kind of almost the same idea as when you do stuff for Swishh Dreams, when you're doing like different designs for the, for the brand? Like, what inspires you for, hey, I think this court should have this, just like I think this design for my shirts should be this?
For the courts, it's definitely inspired by the local neighborhood or wherever it is, or what the park is about already. Well, that's for me. That's where I find the inspiration. It could just be a random one, but I think if it incorporates the park and the people around the area, and that makes the design more impactful,
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And then what about, I know we've been talking about the courts, but let's talk about the brand as well. So you have a mascot, which obviously my mascot is friends with your mascot, NetMan.
Yes.
And so tell me a little bit about NetMan. What made you kind of come up with him, and talk a little bit about like what you're, what, like if someone were to go on SwishDreams.com to kind of look and see the brand, tell people a little bit about what they're going to see if they were to buy some clothes and some merch from you.
Okay, yeah, NetMan, he is our main guy. He I love animation, so I think that's kind of how he became a thing. Okay. Just like little sketches and stuff.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with him personally, and I think a lot of other people liked him when we put him out there.
Yeah.
And that's my dream for like more animations with him.
Mm-hmm.
But he's just a magical basketball net that saves the courts.
I love it. Yeah. Magical basketball net saves the court. I love it. That's like a whole little comic strip right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally, I think he's just super fun when it comes to that. And then the beauty of it is, and obviously a lot of times I tell a backstory of how I became aware of people. I became aware of you and your brand because I actually was doing, I got some shirts printed, and I basically was told, hey, I use a printer. Hannah's amazing. Why don't you check it out? And then I said, yeah, let's go. And so I went, and we met and we hit it off, and you've been my printer ever since. Just because I absolutely love everything that you do and the quality of work that you do. But I also got to then, because of that, I got to then know more about the brand. And obviously I buy the brand. Like, I actually love the brand. I love basketball. I may not play it outside as much as you do, but I do love basketball. And so for me, that was one of the things I wanted to be able to support, because I also knew that I'm not only supporting you, but I'm also supporting a cause of something that you love, which is obviously saving the courts, which I think is pretty amazing and really impressive. Hannah, favorite basketball player?
I'm gonna say,
I mean, if you have more than one, I'll take you giving me your top three. Like, hey, these are the ones I love to watch, or whatever.
I'm just gonna say this, but not like right now. It really changes,
Yeah.
But Chris Paul. I love Chris Paul. I'm a point guard, so I love all point guards. Well, most point guards. And yeah, Chris Paul's one of my top, especially when I was playing. He's who I looked up to.
Love it. My favorite, so it's funny, my favorite basketball players, my two favorite ones that I loved for many years was Magic Johnson.
Ooh.
Always was one of my all-time favorites.
Nice.
And the other one I became, and ironically, I was a Laker fan when I was a kid, which because of Magic. I liked James Worthy, but I liked Magic Johnson. I was like a huge Laker fan. And then when I moved to Orlando, I became an Orlando Magic fan, and I basically, like, that's my squad. And so Shaq, like, when I came is exactly when Shaq got drafted. So when I moved to Florida,
wow.
So Shaq was my guy.
Amazing.
And it stunk because I knew that Shaq was going to leave before Shaq left, because I don't do much reading, and I somehow read that book, a book that he was on, and he said he was a diehard Laker fan growing up, and I was like, oh, we're gonna lose him.
Sadness.
And yeah, and so I basically have experienced that. So now I'm not a Laker fan, but I do a big Magic fan.
Okay, who's your top Magic?
It's weird because I loved Daryl Armstrong. I loved Daryl Armstrong. I loved T-Mac was one of my favorites. But I also like some of those. I'm one of those where I'm like, I don't know what it is. There's something about, I love a good underdog.
Yes.
And those are some of the guys, like, I loved a good Matt Harpering, JJ Redick.
Oh, okay.
Like all those type of guys that are kind of like, that be the Bow Outlaws, like the ones that kind of like, they fill the stat. They may not fill the stats with everything. Don't get me wrong. I loved seeing like T-Mac score 40, but but for me, it was the fact that I love those guys that do a little bit of everything. The ones that kind of like, hey, I'm gonna rebound. I'm gonna be the assist. I'm gonna be the one that's gonna lock down your top scorer. Those guys, I appreciate those people when I watch them, because even though they don't fill the stats, you see you can see their contribution. It's not just on the stats. And a lot of times I feel like that's kind of how I try to look at, like, I tell myself, even when you're running a business, like I try to think myself of those things like, hey, I know I'm not seeing the results I think I'm seeing, but look at all the things that I've accomplished or doing and I'm creating because of it. And that's always a tough one when we're, especially when you're starting the brand and all that stuff. When did Swishh Dreams, when did you start it?
Technically started it like 2013 really is when I started putting out t-shirt designs and stuff. But we became an LLC in 2017 and just became the nonprofit last year.
Got it. And then what is, just to give people an idea of, just to kind of give, and obviously I know every court is different and all that stuff, but when you say when you say renovate a court, save a court, are we talking like everything, like from the flat top, like the flat top to the backboards, the net, the rims, everything? Yeah,
whatever you have the budget for, we could renovate a court for pretty cheap, or it could be really a lot of money, and you could do all the backboards and everything. So it's whatever we got the money for.
I gotcha. And that's kind of one of the cool things. How many courts do you think you've done so far?
Done a total of 3 courts, and we got one coming this fall.
That's awesome. That's Candyland, right?
Yes, Candyland.
I'm looking forward to that one to see how that goes. Let's go. So I want to talk a little bit about, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you was, I obviously love the hoops passion, but I also, like, you're very good at what you do, and when it comes to screen printing. But one of the things that I absolutely love, your conviction, like your dedication. Like, I mean, and one of the things that I've read as I do my little research, I guess Biggie Brett and I do some research on a computer and phones. I read at one point you actually lived in where you screen print for about 1.5 years in order to help renovate a court. Like, there's got to be like that is talk about, like, I mean, that's amazing, Hannah, that to do that on a particular court. I mean, was it a particular court on like you were like, hey, this one's like my court near my house, or was it one of those where you're like, this is just a court, I understand the significance of it, I want to make the sacrifice in order to do it?
Yeah, it was the latter. Just that was the court we were working on, and that's what I felt like I thought I had to do to get it done.
Yeah.
So that's what I chose to do. I don't know if it was the smartest, but yeah.
But you did it.
Did it.
I mean, and that's kind of how you have to look at it sometimes. Like, I mean, what have you learned in all the years of you owning your brand? What are some things that you've learned along the way that you kind of like, oh, I should do this better, or if someone were to start, starting a brand, what tips would you give them?
I would say, I struggle a lot with time management and really, sectioning off your time to spend on your brand. Even if you don't know what that means, give yourself the time, because you only have so much of it. You only have so much energy,
Yeah. And in your case, even more so time management, because you're doing, not only are you screen printing possibly other clients' work, but then you're also doing your own. and that's always kind of a tough one. I'm assuming. Where do you get some of your inspiration for some of the designs that you have? Because I've seen NetMan doing some yoga, but I've also seen him doing some high flying dunks, and just kind of a little bit of everything. Like where do you get, like, what's kind of like your I guess where are you kind of thinking of going, or thought process when you go to release a design?
I'm inspired mostly by playing basketball, and I have to have new experiences to create, So I have to go play basketball or go do yoga, and then, I don't know, something comes in my head.
Yeah.
But I just have to constantly be doing something new, something fresh to get my inspiration,
Since you say you like doing something fresh, have you gone, and if you haven't, then this may be a fun project that you may want to do, or at least me thinking as you're going, have you done like a checklist or gone like, hey, my goal is to play, like, I don't know, my goal is to play 1 year, hit every single one of the public courts in Orlando or something like that, or Central Florida, and then do something like that. Have you done something like that?
Yeah, that's pretty much my goal in life, to play on every court in the world.
Okay.
But yeah, it's endless. Like, my brother is living in Mexico right now, and he finds so many courts. Like, there's a court around every corner. Like, it's wild.
And that's a lot of times that's showcased on your Instagram feed, right? It's like a lot of times when I see that,
yes,
that would make sense. But and I really do think that might be something to consider, is like the aspect of creating almost like it'd be a cool print to do of all the different Orlando, and then say Orlando's balling or something like that, and then have all the different courts and create like a map or something like that.
Yes,
this is how my brain works, by the way. I
love that.
So but I think that's I mean, I truly think it's it's great. I mean, I love the fact that because you can play with anybody around, and you can go to so many different places. So I think that's something really special with that when it comes to that. What's something that I guess let's talk a little bit about, if you don't take the shot, if you don't, you're going to miss certain, what is this, so the quote on it?
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
So let's talk a little bit about the shots that maybe you've tried to take and you didn't make.
Yeah.
Obviously that's always a tough one. What's something that you've learned from those experiences, whether, and obviously this kind of translates whether in business to even obviously on the court itself, playing a game. What are some things that you've learned and gathered from that?
I've learned that, if you don't speak up for yourself, nobody else will, in a lot of cases. Really stand for what you believe in, because it will easily be taken away from you, or, I don't know. Yeah, just twisted. How maybe you wouldn't want it twisted. Yeah,
no, I totally get that. What are your thoughts on, because obviously you've been doing this for a while now. You're now, you've LLC'd and done all those things. What are some of your goals that you're looking to do now as you start kind of looking in like the next few years type of thing down the road? Like, obviously, as your brand grows, you're going to do more with that. But what are some thoughts or things that what do you want to throw out into the universe and say, hey, this is what I want Swishh Dreams to be and become, and these are some of the goals that I want to put out there to be able to accomplish?
Well, right now we're working on learning grant writing and applying for grants. So I just want to hopefully get that grant money coming in, or at least, just applying for a lot, applying for a lot of grants and working with other corporate sponsors for our funding in the future, not just from the sales of T-shirts, more of the funds that's already set up for the parks, tapping into those.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. Have you talked to anyone from any people from like service, like public, like parks and recreation and stuff like that?
Yeah. That's kind of who we talked to for permission for the courts, at the beginning of the renovations. But that's another thing I want to get on, like Chamber of Commerce, get involved more on those, in the community here, and try to start expanding in other communities, get on the board.
I love it.
Have a voice.
No, I think that's great. I think you're right. Like, a lot of times those are the hardest parts to to be able to do, and to be able to get a voice, you gotta kind of have to step up. So I totally get that.
Yeah,
for sure. What's something that is there like a certain mantra or a certain thing that you motto that you kind of go with or kind of live by on a day to day?
You mean like on a personal level?
Yeah.
Save the courts is what comes to mind.
Okay.
But no, man, I'm trying to figure out life right now.
Yeah. No, I get it.
I need a good mantra. What's my mantra right now?
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Save the courts is perfect for me.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's talk about that. Where can people find? Where can people follow you? Where can they shop and shop for some hoop and NetMan gear? And better yet, where can people see some of the courts that you've renovated and maybe be able to play on?
So, SwishDreams.com. That's 2 H's on Swish. That has links to everything there. All our courts and tees and cartoons, and also all our social media is pretty much at Swishh Dreams with 2 H's on Swish, and then I'm Hannah Swish on Twitter.
Hannah Swish. Beautiful. And then what if also, I think on the webpage also, if you are local or in, heck, as she grows and she can grow a list, you can also incorporate or even provide a contact of of a court that you think that should be renovated.
Yes. Please submit a court if you know, or if you're interested in volunteering. You can click that button to sign up. And
let's talk about that. When you go to renovate? I've seen a few people, but like, how many people do you usually need? How long does it usually take, depending on what it is to paint? Talk a little bit about that process of what it is for you to be able to kind of be able to renovate a court, because obviously you can't do it by yourself.
Right.
So what usually what does that usually entail?
Yeah, it really depends on the court and the budget, again, but it takes a lot of people, because there's steps, to resurface it with that good surface, and then paint the artwork is another step, and then all the finishing things, like if you want the backboards and rims or benches or water fountains, or paint the fence around the court, bring in local contractors for all that stuff. Or put the crew together yourself, and you and your friends could get it done if that's how you want to do it, or if that's what we have the funds for,
Once you guys are done painting, do you guys is there like a certain sealant that you guys seal it, or is it kind of like the paint, or is it kind of like, how does that usually work when it comes to something like that? Because especially when it's like a good masterpiece like that on the floor, and you're obviously going to have a lot of wear and tear because people are going to be obviously running up and down it, and bouncing a ball. So just kind of out of curiosity, how's that? Do you guys seal it? What do you guys do in that process wise?
There's no sealer. Just make sure we have a couple of good coats of the paint, and it has like the sand mixed in for the texture.
Okay.
But the final step is to paint the white lines on top. That really, I feel like makes the court finished and seals the deal.
Yeah.
No particular sealer. But I feel like that would maybe be something good to invent in the future, especially for bright sun in Florida, because that just...
Yeah, even if it was like a one you can like actually use like a, kind of like a spray type thing where you can spray it and kind of give it a nice polishy sheen,
something
but at the
that's
same time not slippery.
Yes.
Yeah, and definitely not slippery. What do you put anything like obviously your swishes are like, you have like where they look like nets, are those any of those hidden in on any of the court designs when you usually do anything like that?
So far, actually, on our first court, we put them on the backboard, the logo on the backboard, and on none of the other courts so far, but on Candyland, it's going to be big on Candyland. But, in the future, maybe not. It doesn't matter.
Okay. I love the fact that you're like the humbleness on that aspect of it, where you're like, hey, I don't really, it's all good. Like I want to be able to just kind of spread the word. I want to be able to just get this court, and and if they find out, it's like, I'm, of course, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, it's like, it's cool. I'm like, to have, if you're designing it, why not put a little bit of a kind of like a hidden Mickey or a hidden NetMan's in the designs in the future type of thing, especially when you got so much surface cool. to do. So yeah, I think
love it, Biggie.
I think that's awesome. I love what you do. Not only like, brand wise, but what you're doing, for the courts, hashtag save the courts, as well as also just the work that you do for my brand itself, just with the printing. I mean, you do some amazing stuff, and I truly value our relationship and our friendship when it comes to this. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure I kind of had you on, because I wanted people to know a little bit more about you, because if you love basketball, or if you want to do something in your community, I think it's so important to be part of it. I think it's so important in business to have, be around and supported by your community, and you're doing it. You're helping your community out, and and obviously the hoop community especially. So I absolutely love it. So that's our show for today. Thank you so much to Hannah Hunter from Swishh Dreams for being on and having lunch with me. Definitely make sure to check them out online, Swishh Dreams .com. Definitely check them out on Instagram, and as well as also you feel free to tweet, especially if you got some good basketball stuff. I know Hannah will appreciate any basketball tweets. If you enjoyed the show, definitely make sure to subscribe. If you want to support, check out my brand, Deli Fresh Threads, and do some shopping. Tell your friends, spread the word. Thank you. Until next time, keep eating sandwiches and follow your passion. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Biggie.